All right, hello everybody. I'm here with Chris and Alice from Osmani Games, and we're going to start out by talking about Flowerfall.
So Flowerfall is an idea that's come to fruition in the past 3 weeks. Carl Chuddick, who made Innovation and Glory to Rome, showed me this kind of wacky idea about a game with flowers, and I'm like, looks kind of bad, I'm not going to lie. And then I'm like, all right, I'll print it out. I tried it out, and it was surprisingly fun. And so we're going to play a quick game of it. So the way that Flowerfall works is each player is going to have a hand of 10 different flower cards, which have some area of green, some area of white, and flowers of their color. So I have white, Brad has blue, and Alice has orange. So at the end of the game, there will be these continuous fields of green background. And each one is going to be worth 1 point for every green flower in it. Whichever one of us has the most flowers in that region gets the points. This would be a simple game, except that we spice it up by dropping the cards from the sky. And wherever they land is where they count. So we're just going to take turns going through and dropping cards from the sky. It's a pretty quick game. So I'll go first. You just sort of drop it from eye level, and that one flew off the table, because this table is slippery, and that's kind of how it goes.
All right.
Ah, you stuck into those flowers. So Flowerfall is a little bit chaotic, but it has a surprising amount of watching it is fun factor, and actual skill is involved, which I did not expect at all. You can also turn the cards over and drop them to add more green flowers to the board, because the backs of all the cards are just like the starting terrain for the game. And that's terrible. As you can see, I am a total pro at this game after just 2 short weeks. It was so much fun that when I tried it out a couple weeks ago, I was like, I am instantly printing 100 copies of this to sell at Origins, and we've already sold through about a third of them, and hopefully the rest of them will go by the end of the show. If not, I'll start selling them online. So we're creating this big giant clump in the middle, which will be fun for scoring. If you're really, really into it, you can take a little bit longer on your turns, but we're just sort of playing through quick to give an idea of how it goes, yeah. And, you know, you can play on a table, but honestly, you can play this game anywhere. On a couch, on the floor, in an airport, doesn't matter. Any surface just adds more interesting terrain to the mix. Wow.
So where you played is almost like a variant, I guess.
Yeah.
That wasn't high enough. Let me uncheat.
Horrible cheating.
Right in the pile.
Oh dear. I'm trying to score points, but I'm not doing it. Oh, so sad. See, I've snuck in some new flowers over there on the edge of the table, which might not even be on screen, so just pretend I'm awesome, and that'll be good enough. The last card.
There we go.
Oh. So you look at all the green flowers out here, and you find all the flowers attached to them. So over here we've got 6 flowers in a patch, and orange has the most, so orange gets 6 points. Congratulations. This big middle conglomeration is all one big patch, it looks like. So that's 4, 5, 9, 11, 13 points, and pink has 1 less flower than blue, so blue gets 11 points. And then I get 5 for over there, so I lose horribly at my own game, as usual.
Great.
And that's Flowerfall. It is a very accessible and quick, short game, which looks really simple and silly, but is actually a lot of fun to watch and play.
Will we possibly see this in distribution if it does well?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has loved this so much that I am almost certainly fast-tracking this to a real production run. I might have it for sale in real format by Gen Con. Probably going to do a 15-day Kickstarter like next week, because why not? So, speaking of Kickstarters, I had a couple that ran earlier this year. We had the one for Playtest Legacies, which did really well. We also had one for the Phoenix Syndicate, which is a sort of hybrid between Settlers of Catan and Ticket to Ride, where you're making routes across space and filling out contracts. It didn't finish. We kind of pulled back from it at the end and let it ride. So we're going to relaunch that with some new art. The art for Phoenix Syndicate is being done by Evan Derrick, who designed the BSG Express art for that little mini version of Battlestar Galactica that was kind of hot a few months ago. And he's doing a great job on it, as you can see. Also, we have our friend Innovation is coming out with a new expansion called Figures in the Sand, which has been reported about a bunch by Eric on Board Game News, and we've been posting. The beta's been running for about 2 months for anybody who pre-ordered. Innovation around a bed of flowers. It's very nice. And they'll drop things. So Figures in the Sand revolves around people instead of inventions and ideas. Every card in the game is a figure, and each of them, instead of having a dogma effect, which activates for some ability, has a karma effect, which is a static bonus to whatever you're doing. So you might have a card that gives you an extra 2 points for every castle on your board, or a card that says all of your dogma effects increase their values by 1. So instead of the wheel saying draw 2 1s, you draw 2 2s. It is playable either with or without the first expansion, so you can sort of mix and match on their separate decks. It will be retailing in the same size box for $25, and we hope to have it out for late summer or fall.
Great. Do we know if I'm sorry, if it will be compatible with the other expansions, or is it?
Yeah, so you can play just base and echoes, base and figures, or base and echoes and figures. The way that Carl's designing him, he's actually got 2 or 3 more expansions in his little binder ready to start playtesting after I'm ready to look at them, that interoperate with any or all of the expansions. And the idea is that you can just sort of mix and match whatever you want to do, because that is the easiest for the player. That way you don't have to buy all of them. Sort of like Dominion. You don't have to buy every Dominion set.
Great. So I know Fealty came out a few months ago on iOS. And do you have any maybe other iOS stuff we could talk about today, possibly?
So Fealty is our biggest app so far. We also have the Win, Lose, or Banana app, which is free. And Fealty's been doing great. We released the update for it a couple weeks ago, which added music and fixed some multiplayer bugs with Game Center. The next thing that is being worked on is an iOS implementation of our dice game Sixes. Sixes is a fairly simple, light dice game, takes about 10 minutes to play. It just seemed like a natural fit for the iPad or the iPod. Another friend of mine is working on that. We don't have a firm release date for it yet, but probably later this year. It's not a very complicated game, so it's not nearly as hard to program as Fealty was.
Great.
We also have. I'm bringing out the iPad, but you don't care because we're going to film that later. Video production. We have an upcoming game called Consequential, and this has been our sort of top secret project for the past 3 to 6 months. I'm actually working with Alice here on writing some of the story. So Consequential is a co-op board game, but it is heavily story-driven, and the stories will actually be delivered via online content. So every week you will download a new story from the website or from YouTube. We haven't completely firmed out how the delivery will happen, but that download will give you a story for this week's game. And we sort of anticipate it running sort of like a television show where there are 15 to 20 weeks in a season, and you sort of play through that season with your friends and you experience the story as you go along. We'll be talking a lot more about it in the coming weeks. We'll be running a Kickstarter for it starting in July, and we're showing you the cover art now through the magic of later filming. But it is a game that mixes both fantasy and sci-fi elements in a sort of merging of 2 worlds. I don't want to get too much into the story just yet, but basically hour-long co-op that you'll play 15 and 20 times over the course of a couple months. The mechanics will evolve as you go through the story. In a sort of Risk Legacy-esque way, you'll be opening new packs of cards as the story tells you to. There'll be a box inside the box that says, open when you get to Act 2, open when you get to Act 3. And that will contain new locations, new items, new rules, and new fun.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you've got a lot of great things coming up, and
We are busy.
great. Will we maybe be able to hear more about that at Gen Con possibly? Or?
Yes, at Gen Con we will be demoing the game. We will have the first episode available for play there in a rough format. As the Kickstarter goes on, the Kickstarter will launch July 15th, and Gen Con is, I think, August 16th, so that'll be about halfway through. We're going to run a full 60-day Kickstarter for Consequential, because we really want to build up a big following for it. Because if we can pull in a lot of money, we will change from having simple audio and PDF production to maybe even going to video. We'll see.
Great. Yeah, well, if that's everything, I think thank you for your time. I'm really glad to...
That is what's coming up.
Thank you so much.